Just watched him, see him come over to it. Say he's got that one pretty good. Maybe a hard knocker. Since I've seen him on that live scope and threw that hard knocker over top of him and just kind of bumped it up over the top of him. He just nailed it, just like it's supposed to be. The wind picked up a little bit, picked up the old hard knocker and ripped out the old grass, and he tomahawked it. You can make them. Sometimes, even though it is a bluebird sky, we did get a little bit of wind. You can take them, your rattle baits, you can snap them out of that grass and make them fish react, which, you know, it's sometimes a little hard to do, but it does allow you to get into the reaction bait instead of maybe finessing them as much. But just got to kind of keep figuring them out and keep finding that. Like that fish there came off a point with a little bit of grass on it, and it was just something that's been left. You know, it's cold, but that's one little bit of patch that was left, and that fish was sitting in there. And sometimes you find them patches and then fish will really group up, and that hard knocker, Booyah's hard knocker, you can really get it in there and it produces a lot of fish in that situation. Can't be very big. Oh, 3.5, 4 pounder anyway. Oh no, he's a little bigger than that. I don't think I gave him much credit. A little bit bigger than what I thought he was, ain't he? He has got that thing absolutely choked. Look at that hard knocker. She is gone. Think she wanted it? She got all of it. Take them all day long. Those are fun catching there. Okay. Okay. Not a real big one. There we go. He got a hold of her too. Slow rolling that trap to that grass when it gets there, giving her a little pop every now and then. Pretty good fish there. Go ahead and let him go. This one here doesn't have near as much rattle to it. You hear it's not quite as loud. And I think a little bit calmer conditions, you kind of got to change up and just keep rotating through your baits and figuring out what they're going to want to do, because it's tough sometimes. You know, sometimes they want a crawl color, or red, or shad pattern. You know, this one here it's not quite as bright as an orange and red. It's just more of a neutral color. Just keep rotating through those baits. Maybe even change weight size of it. You know, go from a 1/4 to a 1/2 or a 5/8. Just keep rotating until you get that reaction strike out of them fish when you're pulling it through that grass or ripping it out, and they'll tell you what they want eventually. You know, whenever you're making those casts in grass beds and points of it, make sure you want to, get lined up on them and be able to make where if you get a bite in that grass bed, make sure you can try to get back in that same exact lineup, and don't stay in that lineup and stay with, you might have to vary your retrieve a little bit, because once you do catch a few fish out of them spots, those fish can get accustomed to it, and then you're liable to have to start yo-yoing a little bit. I'm talking about yo-yoing it. Throw in there and let that trap fall all the way down that grass, and just lift your rod tip up and let her fall just right back down. It hits that grass, pull it up and let it fall right back down into it. Another one, just throwing it through there and just slow, steady retrieve right over the top of that grass. And every now and then you might have to kind of snap your rod just a little bit to free it up. And the other one is when you throw it up there and you're reeling it, and that grass it falls down that grass and it gets caught, and you're liable to just really rip that thing out. And when you do, you'll rip it out and that bait deflects back down, and fish will just really train wreck it. And just keep throwing it, because you'll eventually figure them out, because they're in that grass. If you got grass somewhere, there's some fish in it. Go in there, you might have to change a few things up, but just keep changing up till you get that bite. And once you get a few bites in it, you'll really start figuring it out, and you'll be able to catch those fish more continuously throughout the day or evening, whatever you have going on for you. When your winter time comes around, your grass is going to start condensing and dying off. And if you can ever find those points or clumps of it on flats, it really increases your odds of catching fish, especially because they're going to try to find that green grass that's left. As much as they possibly can, that's what they're going to try to find. When that water starts getting below 50, I like to, when you're throwing that trap through there and you're reeling it and you get to it, instead of initially just going ahead and really ripping it out of the grass, I go ahead and keep reeling, let the rod kind of load up and just pull out itself. Because if you start ripping it, a lot of times those fish, if they've already been pressured, they won't like it as much. They'll kind of bump your bait. Certain days they will just eat it like crazy. But try that, and then try the ripping, or just try reeling it right over the top of it. If you can watch on your graph and watch that bait just come directly over the top of the grass, just barely tick it every now and then, works too. When I'm trapping, I really like a soft rod. As you can see, this here is an Ike series, delay series, and it's got a good tip to it, but about halfway down the rod, it's got some backbone to it, so you can go ahead and initially rip that bait out of it if it does get caught up. High-speed reel, Abu, the Premier, and depending on how deep I am, is going to determine what size of line I'm going to use. If you take a 1/2 ounce trap and you throw it on 12-pound test line, it's liable to be like you're throwing a 5/8 or even heavier. So if I'm going to fish shallower grass at 2 to 4 foot, I'm liable to have a 16, 18, even 20-pound fluoro on. It just determines out what depth you're going to fish, and it allows you to stay with even a lighter bait so it doesn't dig up in that grass so easy. So you just determine your line size. If you're fishing shallow, maybe go up a little bit on your line size. If you're fishing a little bit deeper, drop your line size. Get you a little bit softer rod, that way them treble hooks, they don't throw them when they're jumping. High-speed reel, go cover you some water, and find those sweet spots within that grass, because those fish will dang sure group up in your late winter time, early spring, and you can catch a lot of fish doing it.